Returning home from work, Sergei received a message from his beloved wife Nastya, in which she informed him that her colleague's birthday was today and he was gathering everyone to visit him. She immediately assured him that she would not stay long, so Sergei did not have any bad thoughts. His wife worked in the banking department for a long time. It so happened that she was the only woman in her department, and she was surrounded by 6 men over the age of 30. However, Nastya never gave the slightest reason to doubt her honesty. And Sergei had such a character: if you can't trust the woman you love, then it's better not to have such a relationship at all. They were married for more than 8 years, and all this time Sergei continued to follow his principles. Once, a couple of times, my wife even tried to take Seryoza with her on a joint vacation with her colleagues. However, he is a man who by nature does not find a common language with strangers very well and who needed to get to know a person better for friendly relations, so he realized that communicating with Nastya's colleagues was not the best idea. It was for this reason that he never rested with them, and everyone seemed to be happy with everything. Seryoza did not have to suffer at such evenings, Nastya was not ashamed of her husband, and colleagues could be calm. Therefore, this time, for the sake of decency, Nastya nevertheless offered her husband to go with him, to which he once again politely refused. When he got home, Seryoza, as usual, had dinner, took a shower, and then took a beer out of the refrigerator and lay down in front of the TV. The evening promised to be too successful. I'm home alone, the Champions League is on TV, and I have a beer in my hands. Not noticing how time flew by, Sergei looked at his watch. The hands showed 1 o'clock in the morning. Deciding it was time, Seryoza dialed Anastasia's number. To his surprise, the phone was turned off. He began to worry. Previously, when Nastya went on vacation, she was always in touch, and after 12 she came only a few times. Deciding that Nastya's phone was dead, Sergei decided to wait a little longer. After 30 minutes, without waiting for his wife, he started calling again, but the story repeated itself. The phone was turned off. Sergei did not know what to do. Now he was very sorry that when he had the opportunity, he did not exchange phones with Nastya's colleagues. Now he didn't even have anywhere to call, and Sergei didn't even know where the company was resting. Frustrated, he lay down in front of the TV and began to scroll through all possible options in his head. Got hit by a car. Her phone was stolen, she got sick, and she's in the hospital. Everything got mixed up in poor Seryoza's head. He called Nastya every half hour, but each time he heard the same thing in response. Desperate, Sergei decided to wait until morning and only then contact the police if Nastya did not show up. All night, without closing his eyes, Sergei heard how early in the morning someone was trying to insert a key into the keyhole outside. When the attempts were successful and the door opened, he saw Nastya on the threshold, who barely crossed the threshold. Sergei looked at his watch. They showed 6 hours and 38 minutes. Then Seryoza turned his gaze back to his wife. She could barely stand on her feet. He approached her with a mute question, "What happened?" to which Nastya replied that everything was fine. They were sitting at the table, colleagues were drinking and having fun, her phone was turned off, she did not notice it, and also for some reason clarified that she and her colleagues had nothing and could not have. Having dragged his wife to the bed, Sergei laid her down without even undressing her. Looking at her more closely, he realized what confused him the most: her hair was disheveled, her makeup was smeared. In any case, Nastya looked kind of rumpled. Sergei tried to drive away bad thoughts, but they stubbornly did not leave his head. He didn't know what to do. Deciding that trust is still the main thing in family relations, he decided to talk to his wife when she wakes up. The minutes of waiting dragged on for an excruciatingly long time. Sergei couldn't wait for Nastya to finally get enough sleep. He couldn't sleep or eat, his body was in such a state of excitement. And finally, within the first hour, Anastasia opened her eyes. It was obvious how bad she was feeling, and Sergei even brought her painkillers. When she came to her senses a little, Sergei stood in front of her and began to ask Nastya about last night. However, to his disappointment, she only replied that she did not really remember anything, but assured him that she and her colleagues had just had a little too much, but she had nothing with them and could not have. Not believing Nastya to the end, Sergei decided that he would come up with a plan to verify his wife's words. However, it was not necessary to develop a plan. The next week was February 23rd, and his wife was invited to a corporate party again. It came as a complete surprise to Sergei that Anastasia even forgot to congratulate him on this holiday. Then he became seriously worried and suddenly remembered that a long time ago he installed a program on Nastya's phone that allows you to track the location of the phone and usually helps a lot when the device is lost or stolen. After waiting for 11 o'clock, Sergei launched the program and went to the address where Nastya's phone was supposed to be located. After driving almost through the whole city, Sergei found himself in the private sector. The dot in the appendix confidently pointed to the building in front of him. Sauna bathhouse, read the sign of the establishment. Sergei's blood boiled in his veins. He hoped less and less that Nastya was not deceiving him. He called her to ask if everything was okay and where she was. Nastya picked up the phone and replied that she was in a cafe, giving a completely different address and adding that she would sit for a little longer and then immediately go home. Sergei decided not to tell her anything, but just wait near the sauna and watch. 5 minutes later, he saw Nastya go outside in a bathrobe, surrounded by 2 colleagues, having fun discussing something with them. She probably wanted to get some fresh air, Sergei thought. And then something happened that shocked Seryoza the most. They both started hugging her very unfriendly, and not only that. And unfortunately, she reciprocated. Sergei was shocked. Deciding not to make a scandal, he drove home in silence. A lot of thoughts were spinning in his head, but Sergei stopped at one of them. When he got home, he collected all Anastasia's things, put him out the door and closed the door from the inside so that Nastya could not open it with her key. Having calmed down a little, Sergei decided that it was already possible to sleep. The clock showed 8:37 a.m., and Nastya was still not there, but Sergei didn't care anymore. He had barely gone to bed when he heard the doorbell ring. When he came to the door, he saw that Nastya was barely able to stand on her feet. She was knocking on the door and couldn't understand why they wouldn't open it for her, and also why her things were left in the hallway. Sergei opened the door, but did not let Nastya into the apartment. When she asked what happened, he asked where she had been. Nastya replied that she explained everything in the evening, saying, "Why ask again, you don't trust me." To which Sergei simply took out his phone and showed Nastya the photos he had taken near the sauna. It was obvious that she was shocked by what she saw. When asked where he got it from, Nastya received the answer that he came and saw everything with his own eyes. At first, Nastya decided to put pressure on the fact that Sergei himself had brought her to this with his distrust, saying that if he had trusted her, he would not have followed her. But when she realized that she would achieve nothing in this way, Nastya began to apologize. It seems that even she did not really hope that Sergei would be able to forgive her. Saying that he wanted to sleep, Sergei just slammed the door and lay down to rest. From that moment on, Nastya disappeared from his life. After a while, when Sergei had already divorced Nastya, he accidentally found out that she had been cheating on him for several years. That evening, when he was near the sauna, as it turned out, she was having fun with all her colleagues. He also found out that she had now left the city for the country to live with her parents, and was very happy about this, because he did not even want to meet her by chance. 6 months later, Sergei himself found a new woman who fell in love with him and gave birth to 3 sons, with whom he was truly happy.